The Wendigos are the main antagonists of Until Dawn. Basically, they were humans who have been changed by Native American spirits into cannibalistic monsters after eating the flesh of other humans. The Wendigo legends originated from First Nation tribes who were present on Mount Madahi, or as we know it, the Blackwood Mountain. The Cree is a group of Algonquin-speaking Native Americans, and they represent the largest group of the First Nation in Canada, with a total of 220,000 members. So, the Cree deeply respected the mountain and its nature. They didn't hunt in these mountains because they believed the animals were sacred and that it would bring bad luck, so they would hunt elsewhere. Everything is perfectly fine here until 1893, where European explorers eager to make their fortune officially started to mine the mountain. Well, they found tin and later traces of radium, so they mined deeper. So what happened? The Cree, claiming that the mountain was crying out at the moment, released the Wendigo spirits. Easy peasy. And that's where it all started. According to the events of the past, there had since then been many possessed by the curse. But it's not over. As the awareness of the mountain's rich reserves became more widespread, another group called the Blasting Crew came to mine the mountain again for an entire year in the winter of 1951. So yeah, the curse was woken yet again, and dozens of men were murdered and cannibalized, and those who survived by eating the flesh of another became Wendigos. But they weren't forgotten, and later a rescue team came in only to find 12 survivors. The miners who were still missing were hidden away in the archives, but it is clear that the survivors resorted to cannibalism to survive, which means even more Wendigos. The survivors began to display unusual physiological characteristics and were confined in a sanatorium for study. The staff then observed and experimented on the miners as they swiftly mutated into Wendigos. In the whole film reel found on Chapter 9, we can see a miner undergoing his transformation on a restraining chair while being checked up by a nurse. But the Wendigos aren't pets to be kept in a case, so they broke out of confinement and slaughtered the sanitarium staff, leaving traces of their destruction for Mike to find. So the Wendigos are beautiful. I mean, quite hideous. They exhibit spinal disfiguration, giving them a hunchback-like appearance, their teeth become sharper, their sight changes, their limbs become much longer, because it's not horrible enough, so it has to climb walls and jump like a possessed Spider-Man. Their skin is also soft as snow, but hard as steel. This makes the Wendigo immune to almost all danger, including bullets and other weapons. But as all villains, they have a weak spot. Fire. Not only causes extreme pain, but also makes them vulnerable to other lethal threats. Oh, and they also lose their hair to look even more like Smeargle, and loses also their male and female characteristics, becoming an ambulant skeleton. Wendigos often track their prey for up to several hours. It seems they like to hunt prey alone rather than in packs, and that's one less problem. Although they are demon-like monsters, they do not appear to lose their humanity completely. Well, that was a surprise, as they can use some human-like tricks to lure their prey. Another example of this is how Anna never directly kills Mike, suggesting that some of her affection towards him remains. So touching. Mobile persons are highlighted in their vision as they are unable to track those who remain still. Their main way of communication is by screeching, and they can use this to scare their prey into moving, leading to a perfect kill. They can also surprisingly mimic the voice of someone they hear, as they indeed use this to lure some of the characters of the game. We don't know if it is for food competition or just because they like to kill, but the Wendigos can sometimes attack each other. These certainly help us a lot. Despite being almost walking skeletons, don't underestimate their strength, as they are able to crush human skull with their own bare hands. They always choose the most brutal way to smash their prey, such as popping out eyes or impaling them on hooks instead of simply slashing them with their claws, for example. Rather than merely animal killers, Wendigos are sadistic and bloodthirsty. The Makapityu is the Wendigo that chased Hannah and Beth in the prologue. He was the strongest of all the Wendigos, and it is implied to be the origin of the mountain's curse. The Makapityu chased the sisters until they fell on the cliff, before the stranger could avenge the twins by killing him. Hannah hunts the group throughout the whole game, so we can say she is the main Wendigo. Her story after the fall is quite disturbing, as she ate the flesh of her deceased sister in order to survive. She was then possessed by the spirit of the Wendigo. Hannah may kill all 8 protagonists during the course of the game. She is probably the strongest Wendigo due to her being possessed by the spirit of our former friend, the Makapityu. Hannah is only distinguishable by the black butterfly tattoo on her shoulder. Josh was taken to Anna's lair where he couldn't escape. As the Wendigo spirit begins to possess him, he cannibalizes the stranger, partially transforming Josh and then being encountered by a search team. Josh then attacks them, and it is unknown what happens afterwards. Maybe a party, who knows? Billy Bates, also known as Patient 9, was a member of a blasting crew and a possessed Wendigo. Billy was married to a woman named Agnes and has a young daughter named Louise. Billy was one of the mine workers who became trapped for 23 days after a part of the mine collapsed. He and 12 other miners survived by resorting to cannibalism, but were finally rescued on January 5, 1952. After their rescue, they were called the Miracle Men and were carried at the Blackwood Sanatorium and eventually became violent and ended up killing some of the staff, including Josh's father, Bob Washington. The case study dossier found in the sanatorium shows that the transformation to a Wendigo begins in a period of at least 4 days before any visible signs appear. The transformation then progresses very quickly from 4 days to at least 12. When a Wendigo feeds, it becomes stronger. This theory can be real as the Wendigos from 1950 didn't kill any human for a long time and can be easily put down, and their attacks are much weaker compared to Anna's. Despite being undead-seeming mutant humans, Wendigos are not zombies. A person bitten by a Wendigo will not become one due to the attack, only if they eat human flesh, while a Wendigo spirit is free to possess them. The Wendigos from Until Dawn are very much alike the future Predator from Primeval, as they hunt by sound and movement and have both the same vision. Physically, they look almost twins, but they are probably cousins.